Hello and welcome to another session from our Sales Bounce Back Masterclass series. Today I'm pleased to welcome Nigel Bridges from Beacon. Nigel is CEO and co-founder of Beacon, who provide an online marketing insights platform to businesses designed to help digital marketers better measure and manage marketing campaigns and increasing the digital marketing ROI. Nigel has been working in this industry for the last 30 years and brings with him today a wealth of knowledge, for one which I'm looking forward to hearing on the talk coming up. Nigel's talk today is titled How Poor Quality Data Impacts Marketing Decisions and What You Can Do About It. I'll now pass it over to Nigel, but please remember, any questions that you may have, please leave them in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and then we'll ask them at the end and go through them with Nigel. So Nigel, I'll pass over to you now.
Wonderful. Adam, thank you very much indeed. It's great to be with you. Great to be with you all. So what I'm going to do this morning is just talk a little bit about just the impact of poor data on marketing decisions. Good decisions come from good data, bad decisions come from bad data. So let's take a quick look at that. So allow me to share my screen, and I've got a few slides that I hope will be helpful to everyone. So just by way of introduction, as Adam said, my name is Nigel Bridges, co-founder and CEO of Beacon. Basically what we do is we help our clients analyze and improve their digital marketing campaigns based on accurate, transparent and sort of verifiably true data. So what I want to look at is this. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, the world of online marketing and online advertising is a little bit like the Wild West. You spend your money, at the end of the day, you spent all of your budget and you're not quite sure what you got for your money. And sometimes you sell more than you hoped, but often you haven't sold quite as much as you'd hoped. And you want to try and get to the bottom of that, but actually it's really hard. It's really hard. So that's what I want to talk about today. So let's have a look at the problem, and then we can have a look at what we can do about it. Let's have a look at this quickly, the world of fake clicks and fake news. We all know about fake news. But the interesting thing in the world of online is that the amount of fakeness is far higher than most people would think. So just as one very quick number for you, it was forecast last year that over $30 billion was wasted in online fraud. So that's in spending money on online ads that were clicked on but never clicked on by humans, for example. And in terms of unseen ads that were paid for, 21 trillion is really quite a lot, isn't it? So again, that's a little like paying for a billboard and having your advert pasted on the wrong side of the billboard. Complete waste of time and money. And of course, in the electronic world, it's really hard to police this kind of stuff. There are lots of statistics out there and findings, and there are some findings out there that say, for example, that less than 60% of web traffic is human. So if that non-human stuff is the stuff that's looking at your adverts, you're never going to sell anything to them. And this changes by channel, it changes by geography, it changes by a whole load of factors. And how we cope with that is always going to be a tricky ask, isn't it? So that's the first problem, the problem of fake clicks. Clicks that you think happen, that you've paid for, and that never did, or that weren't human. Large problem. The second big problem is one of transparency. Now, when we read an advert in a newspaper, it's easy. The advert's in front of us. The newspaper proprietor can probably count how many people have bought the newspaper, therefore probably how many eyeballs have seen your advert. In the world of online and online advertising, that is much, much harder. I'm just going to put a quote up here for you. It'll take a minute probably to read it, but a little while ago in the Sunday Times, there's an advert, sorry, not an advert, there was an article by Peter Evans, who was looking at this whole world of transparency in online. And he was advertising Peter Joubert, who was the CEO of Mama Foods. And there's this wonderful quote in it from Peter Joubert. Using the sites to advertise feels a bit of a punt. because of the control exerted by the Silicon Valley giants over the true impact of advertising on their platforms. The only information you get back is direct from Facebook, and when you challenge them, they're not really up for sharing or explaining it. And that gets to the root of the problem. There is a general lack of transparency in terms of feedback from your online advertising. You pay the money, and then there is a gap in terms of spending the money and seeing what you really get for it. And of course, if you can't see what you're getting for your money, you can't measure it. And if you can't measure it, you can't manage against it. And therefore, we're back to this whole problem of poor data driving poor marketing decisions. There is a third area I want to cover just very briefly, and that's this one, and it's the area of measurement. So we love to measure, don't we? And of course, in online advertising and online marketing, we've got more measurements than you can shake a stick at. Impressions, clicks, visits, journeys, and so on. But how do we know we're measuring the right thing? I'm just going to show you very briefly an example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some statistics from a platform, from our platform. So it's one of our clients who decided to spend some money advertising in an online newspaper. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but the online newspaper convinced the client that they should spend money on some banner adverts and they will get a lot of visitors and therefore lots of downloads. Here's what happened. This is just a screenshot, but the numbers I want you to see are the numbers down in the bottom corner. For this particular advert, they were persuaded to spend £1,000 and they'd get 40,000 impressions. That sounds great. 40,000 impressions. Hey boss, I got 40,000 impressions. Haven't I done well? If you start measuring properly, you can see what really happened. Just look at the top left. Those 40,000 impressions drove 205 clicks. So that's a click through from the advert to a landing page. However, we have the ability to measure whether those clicks are human or not human, bots, fake. And actually, of those 205 clicks, you will see that 179 of those clicks were not human beings. Only 26 were. What's that? 12, 13%? So you're beginning to see the root of the problem. If we then look to the right, you will see that actually of those 26 human visitors, only one of them actually ended up engaging with that landing page. The rest were just hard bounces. And of that one engaged visitor, no downloads. So you can see if you measure the wrong thing, you will make wrong decisions and bad decisions. You have to measure the right thing. Impressions give you one measure, but what you're really after, what you really want to know is how many human beings interacted with my advert, my post, my link, and how many of those human beings engaged and did what I wanted them to do. And that's a very different set of questions. I have to put this up. This was the quote from the sales director of that newspaper. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but this is how marketing is. Sometimes it hits the spot, sometimes it falls on stony ground. And I'm sorry, that's just outrageous. As an industry, we cannot get away with that anymore. So let me address the actual question, which is, how do we deal with the real impact of poor data on decision making? Let me just show you the impact of poor data in terms of budgets. This is one of our clients. Very typical. They spend £150,000 a month on paid ads. I won't tell you the channels because that will incriminate them. £150,000 a month on paid ads, and we looked at 12 of those ads. From 12 of those ads, the channel told us they had 60,000 clicks, just over 60,000 clicks. That's not bad. 60,000 clicks on those 12 ads. Pretty happy. Average cost per click 41p. Here's what really happened. The ad network said that all those 60,000 clicks were human, and they took the money. Thank you very much. Money in back of pocket. When we analyzed what really happened, this is what we found. 42% of those clicks never actually happened. The ad network said the click happened. The ad network took the budget. That click was never ever registered on the landing page. It didn't happen. Another 12%, the click did happen, but it was not a human being. It was a bot. So only 46% of those clicks were human. Half the budget was wasted effectively. Now, it's slightly more complicated than that because different clicks cost different budgets. So when we look at the financial implications, 17% of the budget was completely missing, 15% went on bots, and only 60% on humans. So 68% of the budget resulted in a human click. That's not bad, but actually 32% was completely wasted. 32% of a big number is still a big number. And it's a growing problem. Please don't think you're alone. If you just look at the quote on the right, this is from a famous economist who looks at fraud. And what a wonderful quote it is. I've studied the economic cost of fraud in many sectors for decades, and I was left stunned by the scale of fraud in online advertising. And it's our money that's being wasted. The bar chart on the left, by the way, is from a very recent Gartner report on why analytics tools are not used in informing decisions, basically because the tools out there are pretty rubbish at doing it. So here's your dilemma. As marketeers, we are fed very poor data from bad analytics tools. However, we have to get online, and we have to be more online because that's where the world is going, especially since COVID. And the third issue is the more we're online, the more we're going to lose. So we've got this horrible conundrum. We need to sell more online, we need to spend more online, but the more we go online, the more we lose. And it's all down to data. There's the dilemma that we need to solve. So waste should no longer be a cost of doing business. So what's the solution? I'm going to give you 6 or 7 tips on how to improve your data and make better decisions so that you waste less and get more. The first thing is, I think we all need to have a thorough understanding of the impact of click fraud. It is vast. Most people don't know how big the problem is, and there are other people out there stealing our budgets and giving us nothing back. So understand the impact. The second thing is, please use business meaningful metrics. I have to say, impressions, fine, but impressions don't amount to a hill of beans when you're trying to sell something. You want to be able to measure number of real humans buying real stuff and how much did it really cost. The third thing is, can I implore, please use independent, transparent data. Most analytics tools take their data, for example, from the ad channels themselves through APIs. So effectively, you have an ad channel telling you how well that ad channel has done in spending your money. My plea is, use independent data that is transparent, where you understand the missing clicks, you understand the bot clicks, and therefore you understand the humans. Then what you need to be able to do is compare ROI with ROI, or return on ad spend with return on ad spend across your different ads and your different channels. Just because Facebook tells you they are doing well That doesn't mean that actually the right answer is to send some more emails, for example. Google will probably never tell you to spend less money with them and more money with Instagram. It may well be Google is absolutely the right answer, but you need to be able to do proper comparisons across your campaigns and your ads and your links and your posts so that you can verify that. The fifth thing is try to stop those bots stealing your money in the first place. If you're going to be losing 10, 20, 30%, sometimes more of your budget to bot clicks, then you need to prevent as much of that loss as you can to start with. We've got a tool that does that. There are other tools out there that do that. But please, whatever you do, try to stop wasting it in the first place. Now, if you're large enough, you could always go back to the ad channels and try and get some money back. I paid for these ads. They were clicked on by bots. I would like some money back. I have to say that's a fairly rare occurrence, but it's always worth a go. And then finally, constantly refine, learn, understand the data so that you can learn and improve campaigns based on real, accurate, transparent, independent data. Otherwise, what happens is you just continue to make bad decisions based on bad data, and life goes on as it has done, but you can make a difference. I'm just going to finish with one example, if I may, perhaps two. What I'm going to show here on the left-hand side, sorry, it's a busy slide, is here's a graph for a client of ours, and the red bar is the percent of budget that's wasted on, in this case, a Facebook campaign. And you can see that about 47.9% of their budget was wasted in terms of fake clicks and so on, bot clicks. We've managed to reduce that with them and through the use of good data and transparency and so on to about 24%. So a reduction from 79 to 20 is huge, because if you can redeploy that budget, then your return on ad spend is quite significant. There's another example here, exactly the same, the blue line, you can see there the percent of bot clicks across a campaign, averaging there, what, about 55%, and then you can see during December and January, it dropping to about 26%. So I'm going to stop there. I hope that's been of use. I hope that was helpful. If there's one thing I want to say, it's bad data leads to bad decisions. Please, please use good data to make good decisions. Adam, back to you.
Fantastic. No, really do appreciate that. And I was actually genuinely quite shocked by some of that, some of the stats there. I'm aware of bots. I've seen them on social media. I see them on Instagram, comments that are always in there. And
yeah,
I can imagine the clicks are on there, but I didn't realise it was to that extent. It's quite shocking. And it's, before you mentioned it, I almost felt like it's fraud. It should be illegal. It's theft, effectively. If they're not actually providing the services that you're paying for, how do they get away with it? I suppose this is what happens when they become so large and such a powerhouse within a particular industry. But it's good that you.
Well, can I just comment on that? Perhaps correct something. Yeah, it's not the channels that are doing that. You know, these are bad actors.
Yeah.
That are out there in some parts of the world. They're just out there, just trying to scam and spam and so on, and they insert themselves into the ecosystem. And that's why it is so bad. So I think it's collective on the whole industry to try and be able to do something about that. And some channels, there's no issue, and some channels are badly hit, and it varies from day to day by geography. It goes up and down with the tides.
I think, like you're saying, though, it's the reporting which you need to know whether or not they are human or whether they are bots. And if they are bots, as you said, there shouldn't be a charge for that because it's going nowhere. It will not return you an investment. We've had a selection of questions, so if you're okay for me to ask those now,
absolutely.
we can go through those. So, and I absolutely kind of agree with all these ones, to be honest, and I'm interested to find out. So the first one is, I didn't realise that bot fraud was so big. Do you see it getting better or worse going forward?
Oh, what a great question. I would love to say I could see it getting better as the industry is getting more and more aware. I'd love to say that. I knew there have been parliamentary committees on this kind of stuff. There are industry bodies looking to reduce it. However, I have a little fear in the back of my head that these people that run their server farms in strange places, actually, they don't want to give up because there's real money in it. So I just see it as a war of attrition of we're constantly trying to get on top of it. They're constantly trying to outgun. And one would hope it would get better over time. But I think our problem in terms of the industry is actually we need to make decisions today and tomorrow on our budget. We can't wait for 2 to 3 years. We need to be making day-to-day decisions. So it's about awareness of the data today and what we can do today to make things better, whilst the big picture is improving.
Absolutely. We've got a couple more. So what sorts of improvement gains are typical if this problem is addressed well?
Gosh, I think I want to cop out on that on the grounds that it really depends on what it is you're doing. So for some of the channels, you can see an improvement gain in terms of return on ad spend of 20, perhaps even 30% sometimes, which is significant. If you're spending $100,000 a month on online advertising, to get another 20 or 30% of sales for the same ad spend is going to move the dial. For other channels, they are impacted a lot less, so you might only get a 2 or 3% change. I think it's all about understanding. It's the classic. It's understanding what you're selling, who you're selling it to, why they're going to buy it, why they're going to buy it from you, and then what channels are you going to promote it over. And you've got to understand all of those and understand the whole mix, and then look to see what you can gain. I don't know whether that answered the question, Adam.
Yeah, it is. I think that it goes for many industries. There is going to be a varied gain from different types of solution and the way that you go about it. So the third one, I'll probably leave it at the 3. If the channel data is not always accurate, how do I know what the best channels are for my campaign?
Again, great question. The answer there is what we've tended to do as an industry for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years is take the channel data and then build all of our assumption on that channel data. So, the data out of, the programmatic platforms or Google or Facebook or what it happens to be. What we've learned is, as well as taking that data, you have to measure independently. And so when you start to measure independently, you will see a delta between the two. And sometimes the delta is quite small and you can explain it. Other times the delta is there because some horrible actor has got in the way and has started taking your clicks and taking your money. Yeah. And so you have to measure independently. And once you measure independently, you then have the ability to compare, do your ROI comparison. You know how much you've spent, you know what you've got for it. Compare advert for advert, channel for channel. And that way you can begin to say, well, that's really interesting. I spent a lot on this channel, but actually I get better results out of that one. Yeah. And you can only do that when you're using independent data.
So you've got to begin to engage in the advertising so you can understand.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that the data from the channels is falsified or wrong or anything. I'm just saying you've got to look at it from all angles. So don't neglect the independent data angle.
No, that's a good point actually. Really appreciate your time today. It's been very insightful, and I hope there's been a lot of marketers that are watching this today, and also business owners who are thinking about their own marketing and how they get the best return on that. And I hope if anybody is interested that they reach out to you, Nigel, because I'm sure you'll be able to offer a lot more insights and support if they are interested in find out a little bit more. So thank you again for your time today. And
you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. Cheers, Nigel. Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.